As anyone in the real world knows, it really is all about the money. Now, money is very special. It's a very special type of asset. And in this video, we're going to take a little bit closer of a look as to what exactly that asset is. The role of money is simply defined by money's ability to be used to purchase other things. Now, money has three distinct roles in our economy that must be adhered to in order to consider it any given asset money. These three things are that money must be used as a medium of exchange, as a store of value, and as a unit of price. Now, give me a second here. I'm going through the drive-thru here at Taco Bell. I'm gonna get myself a little bit of dinner. Hi, $12? Here, how about instead I give you this quarter zip? No? Well, why not? This is value. Fine. I'm gonna grab my... Fine, here you go. Thank you very much. They accepted money much better than they accepted the quarter zip. Now, what we saw there was money being used as a medium of exchange. The drive-thru worker at Taco Bell didn't need a quarter zip, but I needed food. However, money, physical cash, allowed us to make the transaction, despite the fact that I didn't necessarily have something that the worker wanted, as he knew that once I gave him that money, he could go and use that money on something that he did want. The second role of money is as a store of value, basically saying that over time, whatever is being used as money cannot be losing its purchasing power. Now, while this is not unique to money, for example, things like classic cars will retain their value across periods of time. However, you can't use something like, for example, my Taco Bell quesadilla as money because it doesn't store its value. For example, I've already eaten it. The third and final role of money is to be used as a unit of account. Basically, any way to compare the value of different objects. Let's say that I wanted to buy a little thing of Post-it notes from someone, and I had two options. I could either buy one from my friend Catherine or one from my friend Madison. Now, Madison said that she'll give me her stack of Post-it notes. So Madison and Catherine have the same stack of Post-it notes, 120 Post-it notes. Madison said she'll give me her stack of 120 Post-it notes for 6 ounces of steak. But Catherine said that she'll give me her Post-it notes for 17 ounces of chicken. Which one's the better value for me? Who should I buy my Post-it notes from? It's really difficult because the steak and the chicken have different values as well as being in different sizes. Now, however, if Madison told me that for $1 I could have her 120 Post-it notes, Catherine told me that hers were only 50 cents, I know exactly who I'm buying Post-it notes from. Madison. Now, economists classify different types of money into two separate groups, M1 money and M2 money. Now, the difference here is really kind of slight in today's society, but the difference is that M1 money assets are more liquid than M2 assets. Basically, they can be converted into cold, hard cash much faster than M2 assets. Now, M1 assets consist of the following items: pure cash, checks, debit cards, which come from your checkable deposits, any money that you have stored in a checking account in a bank, as well as traveler's checks. Now, traveler's checks aren't used as much these days with the rise in debit cards and credit cards, but they're basically pre-issued orders of money from your bank that tie directly into your checkable deposits account. That's the important thing to remember. The debit cards, the checks, and the traveler's checks all go directly into your checkable deposit account, which is basically just your money account with the bank. However, this is not to be confused with the money market account, which is a part of M2, as it is slightly more illiquid than the M1 assets. In addition, these M2 assets tend to have higher interest rates because your money is more tied up. M2 assets include the money market accounts, savings accounts, any sort of timed deposits, but they also consist of all of M1. So the M2 number is always going to be larger than your M1 because it's M1 plus the illiquid assets. Now, in terms of money itself, there are three types that are considered to be effective ways to run a country's money system. There is A, commodity money, which is where every dollar bill issued is backed by that amount of gold. Basically, if you get a dollar bill from the government, you know that the government is holding on to that money's worth of gold in its account. The second type is commodity-backed money. This sounds like it'd be very similar to the commodity money. However, instead of having a direct one-for-one relationship, it's more like our modern banking system is, which we're going to get into in a later video, where you basically have your money is backed by the gold or some other commodity. However, the bank doesn't have a one-for-one ratio on it. The bank simply keeps enough on hand to allow you to take out the commodity for your money should you want it. This is kind of the halfway point between pure commodity-based money and the third type of money, fiat money, which is what the United States uses today. Fiat money can be comparable to monopoly money because it's just paper with printing on it. Its value comes from the fact that it is the official currency, not because it's actually backed by any good or commodity. Now, at this moment, we're going to take a quick sidebar. It's related to money, of course, but it's not necessarily related to money in the way we've been talking about money, in terms of defining what money is. I want to just touch on the future value of money, in the fact that most financial decisions that you make now are going to have long-term consequences. For example, a majority of seniors, as well as myself, are looking at different college choices, right? And one of those things is the fact that we have to pay for college, and that is a future investment. For example, I've already found a website online where I can buy large cardboard boxes so that I can live in one, because with college debt, I'm not going to be able to ever afford a house. Anyways, a dollar that you have today is not going to be worth $1 in a year, no matter what you choose to do with it. Now, let's say you have $1,000, and you have nothing to buy with that $1,000. What do you do with it? Well, you might invest it. Let's say you put it in an investment that had a 10% annual return. So that $1,000 today has a future value of $1,100 because you're going to have $1,100 from your $1,000 that you have today. Now, the reverse for this is true as well. Let's say that there was a $1,000 watch that you wanted to buy, and you knew that you were going to have $1,000 next year for your bonus, but you didn't have the $1,000 now. You could take out a loan to buy the watch. However, that $1,000 that you're spending on the watch today is going to be less in the future because you have to consider the fact that you'll be paying interest on that. So if you're intending to pay $1,000 in the future on that loan, you actually can't take out a $1,000 loan today because you need to factor in for that interest that you're going to be paying. There are several formulas that go with this, but it's really, this part is kind of common sense. Basically, the $1,000 you have today is not going to be worth the $1,000 in the future. Whether it would be worth more in the future because you could have invested it, or it's going to be worth less because if you take out a loan for that $1,000, because you're going to have to pay back even more in the future. It's all about the costs and benefits, everything we've been talking about in economics. So this has been a sidebar. Back to money. So there you have it. That's money. And for AP Economics, this has been Duncan Fox.